especially if you're a couple, you know choosing entertainment can be the worst part of the evening.
That's true.
But there are so many choices out there. Surely you can come across something that works for everyone. Not if you're Kris. Nobody's going to top Kris for the worst choices of the week. That story's coming up in just a few. Stay with us. All right, before we get to like the movie stuff that we just teased, let's talk a little bit about some streaming stuff that's going on. Barry is back on HBO.
Fantastic show.
If you haven't watched Barry, and it's one of those things where it's like you think about Bill Hader, and if you only really know him from the stupid comedy stuff he's done or SNL, this show really, I think, shows what a talent he is.
I've never seen a show that balances dark with comedy so well. I mean, like it'll be super dark and then you're laughing out loud and then back to dark. It's really weird.
Yeah, and it definitely, I think maybe I'm misremembering, but it feels like it started just lighter in general. Now,
yes.
It had a dark backstory because of what he did. I mean, if you don't know the story, he's a hitman who's trying to get out of the business and stumbles into falling in love with acting.
Yes.
And it's just great. It's watching him take that journey. And then as the seasons go on, it really gets more complex.
Yeah.
And the darkness really starts to rise.
And you think that sounds unrealistic, but I think we all remember Merv Griffin, who was an actor, talk show host, who turned into a serial killer.
Sure, and of course that's from a movie.
It was documented in a movie, yes.
Well, it's not. It's a fictional movie, as far as we know. I don't know. Did anybody ever prove that Merv Griffin wasn't a serial killer?
Exactly.
I guess that's the question.
Thank you. Man with two brains, I believe.
Have to ask ourselves. Anyway, Barry's great. If you have HBO and you have not watched. Or what are they? Are they renaming it just Max now? Is that the rebranding? If you don't have Max, then you should get it because Barry's fantastic and you're going to love it. And actually, a little later in the bad choices section, we'll talk about another show that they're offering that's just really good right now, unless you're in a certain situation in your life, in which case, not so much. Succession, we're still talking about it. Here's how good episode 3 was with the big death. And we're still not going to say because I just feel wrong saying it so quickly. That episode was so big and so great, I forgot that we still had a whole season to go. Honest to God, Sunday came and I was like, man, what are we going to watch? Succession's over. And Katie's like, it's not over. That was episode 3. I was like, oh my God, you're right. Because it was so big and good, I just forgot that there was more to go.
I mean, you talk about not having any idea where they're going with it.
Yeah. And what's crazy too is to come off such an incredible episode, shot so well, acted and written so well as episode 3. You think, how are they going to move on with this? Episode 4, for my money, just as good.
Excellent.
So good. If you're not watching Succession, we can't say it enough, try that show. Mm-hmm. And again, that's another Max, HBO Max, whatever. And by the way, we're going to link it in the description. I'm pretty sure it was on YouTube. Katie found, and I'm sure many of you have seen it, just somebody took the time, and how they took the time to do this, I do not know, to put together just some of the best insults that these guys throw at each other over the 4 seasons that this show's been on.
Okay.
If you're a horrible person like me, you are going to love this video.
And if you agree with that, give us a like in the comments if you think Tony's a horrible person.
If this doesn't get the most likes of any show we've ever done, then I don't know what to do with myself.
Exactly.
How else can I prove to you that I'm a terrible person? I've done everything I can. And then one other quick note, Beef, which we mentioned before.
Yes.
Still one of the hot shows out there. A little negative news this week because one of the characters on the show, I guess, was on video 8 or 9 years ago admitting to some pretty terrible stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
I haven't read the whole story.
I know that Twitter removed the video.
Yeah, so I don't know what that's about. I'm not going to say I don't care because I do care. That's important. But if that's the only thing keeping you from watching the show, don't let that be the thing that keeps you from watching the show because he plays such a small role so far. It's just really good.
Okay.
And I've only seen a few episodes, but it's just escalating in that. Coming up this weekend, Record Store Day.
This has got to be big for you because let me just tell you a little bit about Tony. He loves nobody or anything. Well, he hates everything.
That's not true.
Oh, is that a little rough?
It's a little rough.
Okay,
I have kids that I love, a wife that I love.
A little bit.
Kind of a fan. You're 60% right.
He does love his music.
Forever, my whole life.
Vinyl, you've been big into that since it started its comeback.
Yeah, I collected vinyl when I was a kid. I had, I don't know, a few hundred records, and then like a dummy, got rid of them when CDs became a thing because I thought, oh gosh, vinyl, why would I need this? I have CDs now. Then I ended up collecting thousands of CDs, sold those off a few years ago when I started getting, the iPod became a big thing. And then vinyl has come back around, and I was like, you know what? I was a dumbass for even forever stopping that and started up again. And so it's great. But on top of loving music, which, both of us do, we've always been lovers of music, it is such a community. And I think that's what I love about the vinyl stuff even more, is it's not just about listening to music and experiencing music in that way, which I believe is great. It's the people you meet at record stores. It's the conversations you have. I mean, I go into 3 or 4 different shops here in East Tennessee, and I see a lot of the same familiar faces. They just come there because it feels like a comfortable place for them, a place where they can come nerd out over music and talk about music. Now, I'm not there. I don't go hang out there, but I do love my experience of being there. Mm-hmm. So Record Store Day, if you don't know, every year it happens. Independent record stores around the world hold this big day, and they release Record Store Day exclusive vinyl. And it might be a reissue of an album that hasn't been out there for a long time. It might be something that's never been on vinyl. It might just be a special collection of, it could be any number of things. Picture discs, all collectible kind of stuff. And the only way to get it, or really the best way to get it, is at your local record store. Now, there are a lot of jerks who will buy up stuff and then try to resell it online for an upgrade. Don't do that. But I met a guy at Record Store Day here in Knoxville 4 or 5 years ago, the first one I ever attended.
Okay.
I got there at 4 a.m.
Wow.
He was first in line ahead of me, and he's probably about 10 years older than me. And we just struck up a conversation because you're out there by yourself for hours. And, we hit it off. I see this man once to twice a year. They do a Black Friday Record Store Day, so sometimes I see him then. But generally, once a year, we see each other. And that's about the only communications we do. But for the 5 or 6 hours that we're in line together, we catch up, we tell stories, we talk about music and movies and life. And I never dreamed I would make that nugget of a friend feels like a good friend who I only see once a year.
Oh, that's cool.
Based around our love of music. And he just texted me the other day and said, "Hey, you're going to be there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be there." And he's like, "The usual time." And I wouldn't say a time, because whatever time I say, he'll show up 15 minutes before me. It's very frustrating. But it's an amazing day.
Well, if you see a lot of Van Halen records, I want them. Also, I hope you have a great record store day.
Yeah.
And just to clear up something, you said, being in that community, that does not count as being in the community unless it's something I care about.
Okay.
If it's something I care about, then you're in the community.
You're not my old boss, are you?
Maybe.
You sound just like him. Is he taking over your body? It's going to be a great day. If you're a record collector, I know you're excited. I've got about a dozen records on my list. I mean, there's 50 or 60 that they're putting out, and just really excited. My daughter's coming over for the weekend. So nice. we do it all together. It's a lot of fun. So great. I will also be doing just a kind of a really short clip video of the day.
Okay.
I've never done that before. I'm just going to kind of keep track of the day and the experiences, and we'll put that together in a short or two, and we'll have those here so you can kind of see what the experience is all about. Quick congratulations to Keanu Reeves.
He needs it.
And his entire team. John Wick 4 is now officially the biggest box office of any John Wick movie.
And that blows me away because I have not seen John Wick 4 yet.
Yeah, me either.
But the first one was so good. And everybody and all the reviews are saying, oh, it's better than the first one. And I just don't see how that's possible.
I'm very curious to see it. I love these movies. The second, third, they're both fine. They're not as good as the first one, for my money. But for this one to be so big, I'm just curious what makes it so much better or makes people want to go see it more.
I can't wait to see it. And he talks so much less in this one. Maybe that's it.
Maybe. Here's the thing about Keanu Reeves. We're going to have a little Keanu Reeves love fest. Whether or not you think he's a great actor, it's debatable in some situations. I know in the 80s, especially when he first got started, a lot of people poked a lot of fun at him for his movie choices and his style of acting.
He's done okay.
Yeah, but he's done just fine for himself. I doubt he cares too much about what we think of him. But what has come out over the years that makes me love him, even if he's not the greatest actor on the face of the earth, is
kindness.
He's just a hell of a guy.
Kindness.
Oh my gosh. He is just a decent human being who does really decent things for people.
That reminds me of that meme.
Seriously. And if you don't know what that's talking about, when the whole Me Too thing got started and all the pictures and videos were coming out of male actors or entertainers mistreating women, all the pictures started coming out of Keanu, and here's a couple coming up. Notice where his hands are.
Yeah.
Even for no reason, this was before anything was being pointed out, he just didn't feel right touching people. And he went above and beyond to be respectful of these women, and I think that's incredible.
And I've never heard him say a negative comment about anyone. You've never heard anything negative about him. In fact, at one point there was a flight going into LA that got diverted to, I think, Bakersfield.
That's correct.
And he called ahead and got a bus chartered. It would have been very easy for Keanu Reeves, millionaire, to just get a limo or a car
and leave them all behind
and drive me down and get me home. But he got a bus for everyone to take them back. And not only did he get the bus and then set up front and like, I'm going to sleep, everybody leave me alone, I got y'all back. They said he went and sat in every row, talked to everybody, took pictures with everyone, and was just super kind, telling stories to everyone.
Well, he jumped on his phone and started researching history and facts about Bakersfield. So as they drove through Bakersfield, he was pointing stuff out. He goes, oh, it's that building over there. And he'd read the
That's the palace. Buck Owens owns that.
He was like a tour guide for these guys, really just keeping everybody engaged. And I mean, who does that? Especially at his level of celebrity.
It's amazing.
Just really incredible. And then we've heard other stories just like that, where he's just good to people and kind to people. He treats his stunt people with the utmost respect.
Yes.
And does special things for them. And
you said you saw him talk about Tom Cruise, where he was just
a couple of days ago, a reel came across and they were interviewing him, and he just went on and on about how great Tom Cruise. He goes, Tom is a different breed. And in fact, I bet I can probably just find
I truly believe Tom Cruise is the last movie star.
You may be right. We'll find the video before this airs, and it's going to pop up here, and you can see it for yourself. Here we go.
What Tom Cruise does is extraordinary and special. Again, another legend in another universe. I'm more like on the ground playing in the mud, and he's like flying and jumping and outside of buildings and helicopters, fighter jets. So what he's doing in terms of the events that he's participating in, I think is extraordinary. And his passion for it, his skill, his talent just shines. I think one thing I could say is that I share, as you spoke about, the passion for movies and for, we're lucky to be there, and we're just trying to have fun and hope people like what we do. So.
How cool is that? He didn't have to say those things about Tom Cruise, and it's easy to make fun of Tom for a lot of reasons, but what he said, you cannot deny. I mean, the guy takes it to another level. His devotion to movies and to entertainment is second to none.
I don't know what's true and what's not true in his personal life. We hear so much weird, crazy stuff, but I do know I enjoy his movies.
Yeah, I ultimately just try to ignore that, because at the end of the day, unless you're hurting someone with your choices, I don't care what you do. I'll watch your movies if I think you're entertaining, and that's generally how I feel about him. I think he's kind of a weirdo in real life, but knock yourself out, dude, because your movies entertain me. I didn't think I could like a Top Gun movie. But
I told you.
I've watched Maverick. I've watched Maverick more than I've watched the first Top Gun.
Well, the first one was cheesy and kind of corny, and the second one had everything.
So thus ends the Keanu Reeves Love Fest. Man, what a guy. If you don't know that about him, he's something.
And, this internet's worldwide. So anybody that knows Keanu, get him to be on our show.
Yeah, internet, go to work.
Thank you.
We actually did it when we were radio. We did a contest where who's the most famous person you know, get him to call in.
And we had Drew Carey, Angie Dickinson, and a few other people called in that day that were named.
There were several, a lot of sports figures I don't remember. And then somebody got the fact that they thought this was going to be a winner. Not that I'm making fun of him, because I love the song, but the dude who sang the theme to Greatest American Hero, Joy Scarberry.
Well, remember, we ended up doing a full tribute show to him.
Well, and why?
So he got his.
I'll tell you what he got. A lot of commissions off the Hondas he was selling in Orange County. Who knew? So this brings us to the portion of the show where we talk about choices. Choosing something to watch on any given night, be it movies, shows, whatever, it can take more time to choose what you're going to watch than it does to watch the thing. So you want to make it count, and you want to make good choices. But sometimes it just doesn't go your way.
We've got a new system here, because I was not picking out movies I wanted to see. And I was getting blamed, saying, we always watch what you want. And I'm like, that's not true. Right. I'm watching movies that I think y'all want to watch. And so it was a miscommunication thing. So we started rotating.
And has that been working?
Yes. Great. Fantastic, except for my choices. So I said one night, you know what? Here's a family movie. Lily's with us tonight. She's going to be watching the movie with us. Parenthood. I'm thinking Ron Howard. As a kid, I mean, I was like 18 when it came out. I said, I think it's funny. And it was PG-13, 89. How bad can it be? We weren't 15 minutes into it for all the sex talk and sex toys brought up. I'm like, okay, we're done with it. I'm not watching that with my 13-year-old daughter in the room. And then Rachel's like, why would you pick that out? And I'm like, it's 1989 and a PG-13 movie. I thought it would be okay.
And if I can interject real quick. Everybody has to make their own choices based on their beliefs and what you think is right or wrong for your kids. But I will say, it is very funny to me that in America, we are puritanical when it comes to sex in movies and what our kids see. And yet we give rare thought at all to turning on the most uber violent movies of all time.
Video games.
And video games. We think, that's no big deal. It's just a game. Or, it's movie violence. And we don't think a thing of that. But don't let him say anything about sex.
Yeah.
I find that weird. And maybe that's part of what's wrong with kids. I don't know.
I see your point there.
But I'm not saying you should sit down and go, let's watch this porn together and see how it turns out.
Well, here's where things for me even made I just heard what you said. Here's when things went even more awry for me.
This is unfortunate.
Rachel's best friend, like her brother, he took his life suicide. And it's
just like a month ago, maybe?
Yeah, 2 months.
Okay.
And just a very sad situation. And she's still heartbroken, obviously. And it's been tough for everyone that loved Kyle to get over it. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to pick a movie tonight because she's been having some sad moments with it and everything. And Man Called Otto. I'm like, Tom Hanks, grumpy old man. I'm thinking kind of Gran Torino, a comedy version of that.
Yeah, the trailer, it seems like he's just grouchy and then he finds a cat or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be a feel-good movie. We're going to love it.
Okay.
Every 20 minutes of this movie is a different way he's trying to kill himself. And I'm like, the first thing he's trying to hang himself, and I'm like, and it doesn't work. So then it's like 20 minutes later, he's tries to throw himself in front of a train and ends up, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then the third day, he's got like a shotgun out, and I'm like, honey, do you need me to turn this off? I am so sorry. And it's like, so now I'm 0 for 2 on picking things out. So
wow, how do they not give? I mean, that's a huge. Not about a plot point. That's about content, and there's so many people.
Yes.
Wow.
It was just very sad to watch.
Okay.
And by the way, I'm just going to say this because of what we've been dealing with this whole thing. Anybody that's depressed or sad, talk to somebody.
Yep. Numbers on the screen. There's a website. There are ways to do that. And if you're feeling that way, by all means, don't go down that road. There are people who care about you and love you.
So 2 thumbs up for Man Called Otto.
I was going to say, other than that, how was the movie?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it was a sad movie, but it was entertaining, is the way I'll say it.
All except for that pesky stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you thought, okay, I'll bounce back and we'll try something else. And this is a streaming show, which I'm a huge fan of, but timing is everything.
Perry Mason. And so I watched the first episode, and I'm like, Rach, you got to watch Perry Mason. Season 1, it's fantastic. I love it. It's you'll love it. And then I start season 2 or the second episode, and he's walking into a room where a guy has killed himself. And I'm like, okay, wave off. Don't start watching that show. I pass.
What are the chances that, I mean, without even knowing that you would pick that, and that would be, oh my God, that's terrible.
So I'm out.
Still, we'll stick with the show because the show's great. And the second season, I think, is even better.
Okay.
So obviously there are going to be something. I think what I love about Perry Mason is it really does a great job of capturing what I imagined that time period in LA would have been.
Yeah.
Much like LA Confidential, the movie, they really captured it. And I think Perry Mason does that. And it's cool to see him played out as this young, tough guy, as opposed to what people, if you know the original show, how he ended up playing it on that show.
Most of what I picture that time frame looking like is Johnny Dangerously, but that's mostly New York.
Yeah, just LA for sure. Yeah. And I love the music choices they make on the show too. It sounds a lot like the music they used for Bosch. It's like they captured the feel of LA in that time. So again,
yes.
HBO Max, if you have it, Perry Mason's great, but be warned, there are some disturbing images there. Well, I'm sorry that you made those choices.
Yes, I am too.
And I hope that you bounce back.
I'm going to try
in the coming week.
I think we'll just do all Rocky movies.
Do a little more research on what you choose now. All right, having said that, it brings us to our top 5 memes of the week. Not necessarily new, just the stuff we came across and we thought, we love that. We think it's funny. All right, we'll start with this one, and this is great. If you love wordplay and you love The Mandalorian and you love Christopher Lloyd, this has everything for you.
It's got it all.
Christopher Lloyd in The Mandalorian, Christopher Lloyd, Man in the DeLorean.
Love it.
It's so simple and dumb, but I think that's fantastic. Moving to number 4. When you have no clue what you're doing, so you find an instructional video on YouTube.
You know, it's amazing how quickly you can look up a YouTube on things that I'm like, I'm embarrassed. If anybody knew I had to look this up, not that, but.
For me, I think the most recent one I can think of that I actually had to look it up was, yes, it's embarrassing, but I'll admit it here. I'm man enough to admit it. I am not a tool guy. I don't know that kind of stuff. I had to replace the string on our weed eater, and I had zero clue how to do it. Found a video on YouTube, done in 2 seconds. I was like, wow, that made me feel super stupid for not knowing how to do it, but it was so easy. It's great.
Well, to make us feel better about ourselves, it's amazing to me the amount of people that don't know you can Google any question, and there's probably a video to help you.
Yeah. So think about that before you ask me. because it's really irritating.
When we worked at the radio station, that would drive you nuts. People would call up and go, how does this happen? You say, have you heard of Google?
Yeah, I mean, the internet's out there. It's available to everybody. Please use it.
I'm just going to start telling them we have a YouTube short on that.
Yeah, just go to our page. You have to search for it, but it's on there.
And like it while you're there.
Once you see it, make sure you like it. Okay, number 3, meme of the week. And I guess I love this one because it's just so me, this response. So you see Miley Cyrus, loved meeting everyone in London today. There's no way you've met everyone in London in one day.
I hate literal people so bad when I'm like, because I'll round up or round down like, oh, there was 24 people over there. So it was actually 20. And it's like,
yeah, that's frustrating, but it's funny when I do it.
Yes, it's hilarious.
Everybody loves it when I do it. Number 2, needless to say, this erotic dice game isn't going the way I thought it would.
There's versions of that could work.
Yeah, I was going to say, depends on what you're into.
Yeah.
And our number 1 meme of the week, the one that we love the most, and I think this relates to so many people. If you have a job, you probably have felt this way. All employees must stop crying before returning to work. I get it. And it's such a shame.
Our old building.
I mean, it happens all over the place. I just saw this post went viral the other day. Some CEO from some company, I don't know what it is, but she's on there talking about all these, like trying to tell people why it's a good thing that you're working for this company and all this stuff. Meanwhile, what she's really trying to do is tell them gently why they didn't get any raise or bonus, but she took her $6 million bonus, and they should all think that's really cool.
Oh.
And that's a situation where you can see people getting angry or crying and wondering why they have to do this terrible job. So hopefully you're working a job that you love. If you're working and you got a little extra money, maybe you'd like to go shopping.
Yes.
You should visit our Etsy store. See how we tied it together.
And, there's July 4th shirts up there, so you can get ahead of the game.
See, ready for the next big holiday and celebrate America by giving us some money that we can use to buy new equipment.
Yes.
Okay, links in the description. It's also there on the screen. And then finally, just another reminder for you, subscriptions are great. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, you found yourself back here more than 2 or 3 times, it's probably time to take that leap and hit the subscribe button. But even if you don't quite feel ready for that, if you watched more than 30 seconds of this video or you watch any videos on our page, make sure you hit like on the videos that you watch.
And find us one friend. We all got that one friend that's not quite right. Get them to subscribe and like the show.
Out of the 2 of us, which one is it, you think? I was going to say, okay, we're going to have a conversation. In the meantime, thanks for watching.